Oh, that's fucking adorable. Welcome back to my least favorite series where I discuss deals that go bad or things that happen in our company that just make me say, oh, that's fucking adorable. Today, we're going to be talking about a time where we actually wholesaled the wrong house. I still have questions out of how this was even possible, but let's get into it. This is a JV deal, a joint venture. So someone else pulls a list, buys a lead, however they generated this, they got on the phone with the seller. Seller says, "Yeah, I'm looking to sell that property." Then they come to an agreement on price. The joint venture partner sends the contract, gets the property under contract, then reaches out to us and says, "Hey, I got this property under contract." Now, this was in Texas. Okay. They said, "We know that you do a lot of volume in the state of Texas. Would you like to joint venture on this? Because we don't have dispo down in Texas. We don't have a lot of buyers." Sure. Let's do it. We've got the buyers. So they send us all the details. Now, we have a pretty extensive joint venture process, right? We make you fill out a form, you submit all of the documentation to us. Some people have even complained about how extensive our joint venture process is. Now, the reason why we make you go through this is because we have gone through these types of circumstances. And it's so frustrating. So, we make them go through this extensive process. We get the contract, the purchase and sell agreement. We get pictures. We get the tenant information. All right, we know how to gain access to the property. We're all good. So at that point in time, we assign the contract for dispositions to someone on our team. Now, this property was specifically assigned to Justin Helms. You guys know Justin. I talk about him, Shorty Shorts, right? You guys have seen him on one of the videos on how to talk to cash buyers, how to vet them out. All right, he's great at disposition. So we assigned this to him. And the reason why we assigned this deal to him specifically is because we already knew that he had a cash buyer in this area. He had previously dispo deals in this area. So it was a no-brainer. Justin, here you go. Call your buyer. Let's get this deal moved. It's all about the relationship business, right? So he calls the buyer. Buyer says, "Yep, I'm absolutely interested. When can I go walk the property?" Justin contacts the tenant. Says, "Hey, we're going to come out. We're going to do a walkthrough. When are we available?" Tenant says, "Hey, you can come out tomorrow." All right. Still, for the life of me, I have a lot of questions as to how this could even be possible. But tenant says, "Yeah, come out tomorrow." All right. So cash buyer goes out there, walks the property. Now, what's happening behind the scenes, right? This is the dispositions process. In the meantime, transaction coordination, right? So when we do a joint venture deal, because we have an in-house TC, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make sure that we take care of all of the transaction coordination. So we take this and we say, we're going to go ahead and we're going to open up title at our preferred title company. So we submit the contract and we're waiting on the title commitment to come back. We're very confident that we're going to be able to assign this deal. So we're not waiting to get an in buyer. We're going to go ahead. The numbers look great on this. It's a cash flowing, tenant occupied property. It's got equity. It's in an area where we have a known buyer. This is a no-brainer, right? So we go ahead, we open up title. In buyer, cash buyer goes out, walks the property, loves it. Says, "I'll take it. Send me the assignment." We draft that up. We send it over, sign. $5,000 non-refundable earnest money is deposited. Fast forward a couple of days. Title company comes back and says, "We have a problem. The seller of this property is not the owner of this property." Well, that's weird. They signed the contract. Is this one of those situations where we're getting scammed? And typically when we do our due diligence, someone asked the other day, what's the benefit of having PropStream when you could just comp on Zillow? Well, sometimes it's for these circumstances. When we do our due diligence, more often than not, we look up, is there a mortgage history? Who's the owner? But the numbers were just so good. And this was a known joint venture partner, JV partner, right? We'd done deals with them before. It just slipped through the cracks. We didn't look up to see if the owner on record matched the owner on the contract. So we called the JV partner and we say, hey, we have a problem. Title is saying that the owner is not the person who signed the contract. So the JV partner then calls the seller, says, hey, title is saying that you're not the owner of record. Is this like an inheritance? Is it a probate? What's going on? No. I bought this property cash a couple of years ago. I don't owe anything on it. They're going through the whole spiel. All right, well, we need you to contact the title company and get this cleared up because we can't move forward. We can't close because they're saying you're not the owner of record. So the seller gets on the phone with the title company, and what happened is the JV partner was calling about, I'm not going to use specific addresses, but we'll say 123 Main Street. Well, the seller actually owned 122 Main Street, not 123. So they had this entire conversation about 123 Main Street, yet the property that the seller actually owned was 122 Main Street. Now, I have asked this question numerous times, and I have not gotten an answer from all of the parties involved. Of course, Justin, who's sitting right behind me, the JV partner, who's my friend, love and respect, talk to all the time. We do not know the answer to this question. How did we get the tenant's information to the property they didn't own? Our buyer, Justin, talked to tenants of someone else's property. Our buyer went and walked another property, and it killed the deal. Here's the reason why. The 123 Main Street, right, the property that we thought we had under contract was like 1,700 square feet. Well, 122 Main Street, the one that the seller actually owned and the one that he was trying to sell us, was actually 800 square feet. So there was no equity to be found. It was full market value. It was not a wholesale deal. And no one could explain to us how we spoke to the wrong tenants. Now, the only thing that I've come up with at this point in time is that the JV partner then tried to reverse engineer, either skip trace the address, or maybe when they went out to the property to get pictures, that's how they got the tenant information, by knocking on the door. I don't know. No one has been able to explain that aspect of it. And that is the part for me. Listen, we've all been there where there was a misunderstanding, miscommunication. If you do this business long enough, you're going to run across some crazy stuff. But this one, to me, really takes the cake, where I cannot comprehend how we got ourselves in a situation where we were talking to a tenant in a property that we were not talking to any party involved. We gained access. We walked the property. We got pictures of this property. And it was never the property that we were supposed to be talking about. So the most embarrassing aspect of this, outside of the overall frustration, the fact that it was not a deal, we actually did all of the work necessary to earn that assignment fee. And when we lost that, the most embarrassing part is Justin had to call his repeat known cash buyer and say, listen, remember that property, 123 Main Street, that you thought you were buying? We actually were not under contract on that property. We were under contract for 122 Main Street. There was a typo. There was an error. You want the property that we had no rights to. Now, I did try to get creative on this. I'm not going to lie. I came up with an idea. I was like, whoa, why wouldn't we skip trace 123 Main Street and talk to those owners and see if we could buy it? So we did. And Justin actually got that seller on the phone, and he pitched the whole thing. Hey, listen, this is what happened. We thought we were buying your property. We were obviously not buying your property. We actually already spoke to the tenants. We got pictures. We are interested in buying the property. It's kind of heartbreaking. Are you interested in selling? And, you know, it was a landlord. So typical response, well, I'll sell anything for the right price. So Justin made the offer. This is how much we were under contract for. So we looked, no, absolutely not. It would have to be double that. And so it killed the deal, and we missed out on it. It just so frustrating across the board, because we take steps when we do joint venture deals to avoid scenarios where we waste our time, where we end up not only wasting our own time, but wasting our known cash buyer, a repeat buyer of ours, time, and just the overall frustrating aspect of the fact that $5,000 non-refundable earnest money had been deposited. We had to get that refunded. We then had to cover the wire fees for the buyer for submitting the EMD and then having the EMD returned to them. So not only did we miss out on the deal, but we also lost a little bit of money. It just, miscellaneous little tiny fees that just irk you to the core, right? This one, this is a classic example of, oh, that's fucking adorable. I still, for the life of me, of all of the examples that we've given on here, right? We had the buyer that fell asleep inside of the property before purchasing. We had the attorney that killed the deal. We had the seller that refused to sell. Those are all classic examples of this. This one, though, so utterly unexplainable. I still give Justin a hard time about it. So here's what I ask in return. Make me feel a little bit better. Give Justin a hard time in the comments. Make sure you give the video a like, okay? That's important. Boost the algorithm up, but give Justin a hard time. How could you wholesale? How could you waste your known buyers' precious time with sending them out to the wrong property? Come on. You know I love giving Shorty Shorts a hard time. So give Mr. Justin Helms a hard time. How could you do it, Justin? How could you break all of our hearts? Even though I don't think it was Justin's fault. Or I don't think he did anything wrong. But listen, it's always good to give Justin a hard time. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Appreciate you guys. We'll see y'all tomorrow.